Okay, we are live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Evening Buzz, Episode 3. And I'm Rod Davison, broadcasting here from Fresno, California. And my partner?
I'm Paul Strone, and I'm coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. Are you ready to kick this thing off, Rod?
I'm ready to roll.
Cool. Well, tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be about the top 5 tax deductions that we can take as a home business owner. Now, some people don't even know, I don't think, Rod, that you can take any tax deductions as a home business owner, but it's one of the cool things about owning a business.
Yeah, I mean, I know I take them every year because they're worth a bunch.
Absolutely.
No question.
And as we talked about a little bit in last night's show, is if you have something like that you can take advantage of, you got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, so I think tonight we probably should do this at the front end instead of once we get started. But, you know, everything that we're going to share with you tonight, make sure you talk to your tax professional, you know, before you use them. You know I have a tax professional that I use, and everything that we're going to share tonight, I definitely take advantage of, and my tax professional agrees with everything that we're taking. So just wanted to throw that out there. Make sure you talk with your tax professional, because some may have different ideas about different strategies. So what do you think about that, Paul?
Always consult with the professionals, folks, when you get any information from anybody online or anywhere, really.
Yeah, don't be coming to Rod and Paul and say, hey, the IRS audited me because you told me something. So make sure you check with your tax professional.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. So let me do a quick screen share? A quick screen share here, Rod. And
screen share.
Woo!
That's a new term. Never heard of that one before.
Yeah. So we're going to do a quick screen share here, and then we will get right into it. All we need is this. Perfect. So the top 5, and you got us there, Rod. Everything good?
Yeah. Do you want to do that full screen or just keep it in the window there?
Is that not full screen?
No. I mean, it's not in presentation mode anyway.
Oh, really? All right. Well, hold on a second. Let's try that again. And
I know on PowerPoint you have to share the desktop, not just the PowerPoint.
You got to share the whole thing?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
There's the beautiful tunnel of death.
Tunnel of death. How about that?
There we go.
All right, cool. So the top 5 tax deductions for home-based business. Now, we say home-based business because that's the space that we're in, but really these are, again, business deductions that every business can use, and I think that's where people get confused, Rod. They think, well, you have a little tiny home-based business that you don't get all the tax advantages of the big boys, but you, for the most part, guys, now not in all cases because there's a whole bunch of, the tax code is huge, but for the most part, yeah, you get the same deductions that the guy running the 7-Eleven down the street or Subway or a lot of these other businesses that you see around town, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you really think about it, you almost get better tax deductions because you get to take the same deductions the guys that have all the overhead for a brick and mortar business get to take. So, you actually have a better option because your overhead's not as much.
Absolutely. So we're going to count them down from my least favorite to my most favorite, but we're going to count them down from number 5. So number 5, and this is one that a lot of people don't know, and that is health insurance. Health insurance, there's a deduction for medical, for dental, and long-term care insurance. Man, it's going to be one of those nights where I'm tongue-tied. And self-employed people can pay for their families as well. Now, in some circumstances, folks, you have to have a plan set up, but it can obviously amount to a significant amount of money with the cost of healthcare now and the cost of dental and all that kind of stuff. this can be a huge, huge deduction for you by the time the year's out.
Yeah, and you know, the only thing I can recommend on the health insurance one, this one definitely talk to your tax professional, because this one's a little trickier than all the rest of them, really.
Right. Like I said, I think you actually have to have some kind of plan set up. But I was just on the IRS website before we went on, because I'm a geek, and
Yeah.
they really didn't mention anything about the plan. They just said that if you are self-employed, that you're able to write off these things. But I know that there are some nuances there again. So check with your tax people. Now, this can cover a child under the age of 27, even if the child was not your dependent. Now, again, got that from the IRS website. Don't quite understand that one, but hey, folks, if again you can take advantage of some of this stuff, take advantage of it. Now,
well, I mean, generally, you may have a child that's you know, under 27 that may not even be living with you, but because they're your child, you can still cover them on your health insurance, but they're not technically your dependent, so that's why it states it that way.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
So the deductions available if you made a profit and you report it on your Schedule C. You could have earnings as a partner, so report it on a K1, and that's part of the partnership thing that we talked about yesterday. So even a partner can write that off. And then if you were paid wages on a W-2, so you're actually an employee, but as a shareholder you own more than 2% of the outstanding stock, you can also use this deduction. And the policy can be in your name or the business name. So that's really pretty cool. Like I said, with insurance the way it is today, guys, it's a huge, huge deduction. So number 4, and Rod knows one of my favorites.
Yeah, I figured that one would be number 1.
Yeah, I know, you would think, right? But business trips, as it relates to your business, can be written off. Now, obviously, you're supposed to be working on your business trips, but you are able to, if the things are done right, able to schedule some family time in with your business trip. So if you know what the IRS requires, you can combine a business trip with pleasure, deduct 100% of your travel, your hotel, your ground transportation, 100% of your tips, and then 50% of your meals as a business expense. So it can, again, be a pretty significant amount over the course of a year. Now,
no question. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Right? So my question is, what if your spouse or family were to travel with you? Now, if you go on an airplane, obviously you can't deduct their travel costs in the plane, but your hotel expenses will be covered. Your, transportation expenses will be covered, and all that stuff with your family, so you can actually see how you can double up your trip so that some of that can be written off, or the majority of it can be written off, and your family still gets to travel with you. So, like I said here, you can't write off their airfare, but let's say they were in a car with you. My wife and I travel to California a lot for business, for conventions and things like that. We actually met Rod down there for an event recently. The trip down and back, all that mileage is tax deductible, even though my wife's riding with me because I'm going on a business trip. I'm going to a training program, actually. And the hotel, as I'm there, the hotel is 100% deductible. My wife just happens to be staying with me. And then we can actually take a little bit of time off when in between classes or in between things that are going on down there to do some sightseeing and things like that. So you can kind of combine them a little bit. So as long as the majority of your time is spent on business, the entire trip is deductible. So very, very powerful if you do this stuff right. And again, if you go to the IRS website, guys, they have all kinds of different rules on like cruises and out-of-country travel and all that kind of stuff. And you can see any of that stuff on the IRS website. And your tax professional, again, is going to be able to help you out in that respect.
Yeah, but I mean, business trips are, and if you're in a home-based business, I mean, you're going to be going to conferences or training or something, almost every year, or at least you should be. So I mean, those are great deductions that come right off the top. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your learning is part of your and you're supposed to be able to prove that convention is going to increase your business or be good for your business. And of course, that's pretty easy. I mean, regular trainings are just a part of the deal. I mean, personal development trip, for a personal development training, all that stuff is going to improve your business. I think you'd have a hard time them not allowing that deduction. But
yeah, it's a lot harder to disprove it than it is to prove it.
Right, but again, part of what we talked about yesterday is having good records as well. Recently, Rod and I are business partners. He lives in Fresno. I live in Las Vegas. Las Vegas. Wow, what a night this is! And he comes down here for a conference every now and then, like every 6 months or so, for various conferences. And while he's in town, we can get together and discuss our businesses, and our meals are a 50% deduction, which is what we're going to talk about next. Food and entertainment, again, can be a very, very big deduction, and it's something that you need to be able to take advantage of. Now, what the IRS wants you to do is say that your food and entertainment needs to be an ordinary and necessary expense to your business, and it needs to meet a couple criteria. And these are, again, fairly easy to prove. Now, they have to be directly related, which means the main purpose of the combined business and entertainment was in the act of conducting business, and you engage in business during the entertainment, and you had an expectation of generating income from it in the future. And now we talked about that before. Same thing with the convention. You have to prove that it's for generating income, and of course, it is. The other criteria, it has to be associated. So the entertainment's associated with your business, and again, I don't want to get into this stuff too much, but let's say, like fishing trips and things like that are very difficult to try and prove our business. But let's say you're renting a room for a cocktail party or something like that. Obviously, that's entertainment that's associated with your business, and you'll have people coming in, maybe doing card tricks or that kind of stuff. All that stuff is able to be written off.
Yeah, and a pretty common one that a lot of people use for business discussion is around the golf too. So, golf or and just kind of want something real quick. So it doesn't matter if you take one person or you take 10 people, you can still only write off 50%.
Right, absolutely. Now, business can also be conducted directly before and after the entertainment. So let's say you're doing, somebody comes into town like Rod, and we are at a convention or something like that. We're doing our thing, and then after we go out and we go to a show or we do dinner, that is part of business that is conducted directly before or after entertainment and is allowable write-off. You write off 50% of your meals and entertainment. Now, in certain circumstances, meals are 100% write-off, but you're talking about having to have employees and stuff like that. So, you're having an employee party, and that entire party is 100% write-off. Now, also, if you do, and this is big for home business owners, and again, guys, you're going to have to check on this. If you buy food and beverage for a home party, I'm pretty sure that is 100% write-off.
Yeah, it is.
It is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I believe that to be true. So again, make sure you check that. But if you have a party at your home, I'm pretty sure that that's 100% write-off.
Yeah, it's no different than renting a room for a mindset deal or something. So it's kind of similar to that. And
there's some really crazy stuff that you should look into, guys and gals. But you can actually rent a room from a friend's house. You can pay them for that quote unquote convention space, and you get to write off that expense 100%, and they do not have to claim it as income. It's some kind of weird, and I'm trying to remember the name of the write-off, but it's some kind of weird thing to do with Olympic events or something like that, for renting your home out for space for people to stay in your house. But again, and let's say I rent from Rod, who rents from somebody else, and we share that that rotation of whose house is getting used for what. There's a situation there that can be pretty powerful, that if you say, okay, well, a hotel room would have cost me $200 to $300 to rent out for 30 or 40 people. Instead, I'm going to rent Rod's house from him for the $200 to $300. I can write off that $200 to $300 Rod does not have to claim that as income. Check on that one, but it's very, very cool, very powerful.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah. Now for us, it'd be a little bit easier, obviously, because we're out of town. But you could actually do that for in town if you're working with other people in town. So the IRS website, it has all kinds of charts and graphs, guys, to see what.
Yeah,
what
I mean, there's so many tax deductions in the IRS. It's mind-boggling, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're down to number 2, and I don't know how we are on time, Rod. We always seem to have a lot of time, and then we run out. But no, I think we're good.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
All right, number 2, and this is a biggie, guys. This is
my favorite.
Automobile expenses. Okay, your automobile mileage can be huge. So if you go to meet clients, and again, we're going to use let's use the network marketing industry as an example. You've set up a meeting for Rod to go visit Billy Smith, and Billy Smith lives in a town 10 miles away. Rod can go drive to meet him and back, and that 20-mile round trip is totally deductible. And if you track that stuff throughout the year where you're going to meet people for lunches, or you're going to meet people, say you're doing Saturday sizzle sessions, or whatever it is that you're driving to meetings for, all of that stuff is deductible. If you drive to the office supply store to pick up staples, it's deductible. Now, you have the option of calculating the actual cost of using the vehicle rather than the standard mileage rate, and I'll explain that like this. I have one truck that is strictly business. We do not drive that vehicle for personal reasons at all. So because of that, 100% of the mileage on that vehicle is tax deductible. So we don't track the mileage in that car. All the gas that goes in it is deductible. All the oil changes are deductible. Any maintenance on that vehicle is deductible. Now, if you are using your personal vehicle and you're using that for business in certain circumstances, you will want to track the mileage most likely. Now, there is another way to do that, Rod. You could actually, if you write down your mileage January 1st and you keep track of your business miles for, say, I think you have to keep a 90-day log. You keep a 90-day log, and at the end of the 90 days, you write down your total mileage. You figure out what your business mile percentage is of that. So let's say your business mileage is 20 to 30%, or let's say it's 20%. Pick a solid number.
Yep.
If it's 20% business mileage, 20% of your gas expense is a write-off, 20% of your oil changes, 20% of your maintenance, 20% of everything that goes into your car is a write-off based on that percentage. So that's another way to be able to do that. But the standard mileage rate, I have an app in my phone. Do you use a phone app, Rod, or do you use a mileage chart?
No, I just most of the places that I go, I mean, there's always exceptions, but because I do some consulting too on the side, so I travel to a couple of different places, and it's generally always the same. So I mean, as long as you track it once and you know what the mileage is, then you can just write that down. But yeah, I mean, usually whenever I just have a logbook that I have in my car that I just write the mileage and where I go generally. So, but the mobile app works great. I mean, it's really just, whatever works best for you. So just to kind of give you guys a quick thought about the mileage. I guess when I first started doing my consulting gig, I was doing a lot of traveling, pretty much 4 or 5 days a week, and I drove roughly about 20 to 25,000 miles that year in business travel. And that's about, at today's rate, that would basically be between $11,000 and $13,000 direct expense that you can write off of. So if you made $50,000 profit that year, and you were taxed on that, now you have this $11-something thousand expense you take right off the top. So now your net income is, substantially less, and you're taxed on that less. So just to kind of give you a quick, idea of how powerful mileage can be. So
right. And I think I've got next is the mileage rates.
Yep.
56 cents per mile for business miles, folks. So driving down to meet your clients, 56 cents, $5.60 for every 10 miles you put on your car. That is a huge, huge deduction. 23.5 cents per mile for medical or moving expenses, and then 14 cents per mile in service of a charitable organization. So if you're driving to your church to help your church out, that is also a tax deduction. So again, guys, Rod hit the nail on the head when he said that's a huge expense. There could be people out there, and hopefully it's nobody that's listening to this, but there could be people out there that have driven literally thousands of miles over the course of a year in a consulting gig and didn't know that they could do this. They're probably kicking themselves pretty hard right now if they're seeing this.
Hopefully everybody knows this, but yeah, there's, you know, and a lot of people don't realize that they can write off 23.5 cents for medical, and that's medical, dental, vision, pharmacy, you know, and you know, pretty much anything that your medical insurance would cover. All of those trips, and you know, a lot of people don't take advantage of that either, and it's, you know, I mean, that's 23.5 cents a mile. I mean,
I'm bad for that one. I always forget to write it down. So here's a quick example, folks. If you drive to the office supply store to pick up staples or paper or, you know, whatever it is, a ruler, or you need scissors, whatever it is, the mileage down and back, let's say the mileage down and back is 20 miles. Your deduction's $11.20. That should more than enough cover your fuel, your maintenance, and all that kind of stuff down and back. Now, Rod, you should, if you go to pick up staples, let's say there's a restaurant next door and it's dinner time. You go down to the office supply store, you pick up your staples. You just happen to stop next door to grab dinner, and before you come back home, the mileage down and back is deductible. The initial purpose of that trip, the initial purpose of that business trip was to go get staples, and you just happen to do dinner. That's okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Or maybe on the way home, you just happen to remember that, oh, darn it, I needed to get milk, so you stop at the grocery store. That is okay. The initial purpose of that trip needs to be business. So a big hint to you guys is you should very rarely leave your home office unless you're going on a business trip.
That's right.
A little hint for you guys, you know. And what I normally try to do, though, is if I'm going down there and I track mine in a mileage tracker in my phone, I try to have, you know, if I went to Staples or I went to Office Depot or, you know, even Walmart, if I went to pick up paper, you should probably have a receipt that matches that you went down and you went to the store. I guess obviously they didn't have to have what you have in stock, or what you needed in stock, but the best way to back that up would be to have a receipt that says, yes, I in fact went down and bought staples or elastic bands or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, and it comes back to documentation. All you got to do is just put in there, you know, I went to the supply store for this. You know, you may just be going there because you're pricing out some supplies for, you know, something that you're thinking about marketing next month or something. I mean, you know, as long as it's documented, it's really hard to.
Absolutely. Documentation is key. So we're getting close here, guys, and the last deduction, and a huge deduction, is the home office deduction. Now, a few years ago, people would freak out about the home office deduction. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to take it, or that if they take it, that they would get audited. That is absolute garbage. And here's the exact opposite of that. If you're running a home-based business and you do not take a home office deduction, don't you think that will send up a red flag that you are not running a home-based business? Right?
Yep.
Right, Rod? I mean, if you're running a business from your home and you're not taking a home office deduction, that to me is more of a red flag than if you take it. And this is, again, it's in the IRS website. There is nothing wrong with taking a home office deduction. Now, They just started, I think it was just this year, it might have been last year, Rod, where they started to have two options for this deduction, and I'm not totally sure on the new simplified option, but basically there's a simplified and a regular method. And there's two basic requirements for your home to qualify as a deduction. Now the simplified, guys, it's something to do with like you can do like a maximum of 300 square feet at $5 a square foot, and then you just calculate it like that. You don't have to do any of the percentages, because if you don't do that simplified method, you actually have to know, like our house here is 1,800 square feet, and we know that our office is, and I can't remember what it was, it's 240 or 360 or something like that, and you have to figure out the percentage of square footage that is of your entire house, and then you get that percentage. If it's 20% or 10%, you would get 20% off of a deduction off of your rent or mortgage, off of your utilities, off of all that stuff. And Rod's been to my house, and I have so much of my house used for business. I use certain rooms for doing freaking videos, and I've got screens set up, and I've got, if you have a small business out of your house, it's pretty easy to prove home office deduction. I recommend taking photos. I mean, if you're using part of your garage for your home business, or you're using your a specific room for your home business, take photos of that stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Photos are absolutely perfect, especially for the home office, because they really want to make sure that you're using it for your business and not for a hobby room or whatever, So.
Right. And that brings us to the two basic requirements: regular and exclusive use. So you got to use your extra room as an office. You can take it as a home office deduction, but it has to be regularly and exclusively used. If the IRS audits you and they say, how much do you use this room for personal? And it's anything but 0% and 100% business, you're looking at issues. So
yep.
The same thing goes with laptops, folks, with phones, with everything like that. When the IRS asks you how much of this is used for business, you say 100%. Simple as that. The second requirement is it's your principal place of business. So you must show that you use your home as your principal place of business. And an example of that might be where if you're trying to get a home deduction, but you actually have, like, if you're like, let's say you're in the medical field, Rod, like you are, and your hospital had a, I guess I should say as you were, but your hospital had a office for you there. Now you have to show what your principal place of business is. If you're going to show that your home is a home business or is a home office deduction, you got to show that you meet clients there, or that you do that kind of stuff, and that the other office isn't your primary office. So that's part of the two requirements. So here's a simple example, guys. If you have a 1,000 square foot house, 100 square foot office, that means 10% of all your home expenses can be written off: rent, utilities, etc. Now, some people say, well, I thought that was only for homeowners. Absolutely not true. If you're renting a home, 10% of that would get written off. So if a 1,000 square foot house, you're spending $1,000 a month on rent, $100 a month, $1,200 a year is a write-off. So again, can be a huge amount of money. And utilities, and what else? Your cable bill, your internet. Now, again, if your internet is 100% business use, then you can write that off 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I write off 100% of my cell phone and my internet.
Right, because you're like me and you. That we spend.
But I do my home business full time too. So. Right,
and that's a big deal too. Is whether you're running your business full time or part time. Then you got to really take good records if you're only running part time. So just quick, so that you guys can see this, I put it in here because, like you said, I have so many questions about. Oh, I'm not sure about the home office deduction. I've heard publication 587 in the IRS website, guys. That tells you about the business use of your home and fully explains all of the pieces of that puzzle. So that's it for that, folks. The tax deductions, those are the main ones. Now, those are not all of them.
No, those are not all of them by any means. They're just, probably the biggest bang for your buck, I guess, for your time and your, putting the effort into the documentation. Those are definitely the biggest bang for your buck, no question.
Absolutely. The things that you're going to track most of the time and you're going to, be able to use right off the bat. Because let's say you're a struggling home business owner, which I know a lot of folks watching this probably are. If you're not making that much money the first year, which most people don't in a home-based business, let's be honest, you're still working your regular job though, which you should be if you're running a home-based business. If you're running your regular job and you can get $5,000 worth of tax deductions, like you said, Rod, off of your $40,000, if you said 10 grand you had in mileage, if you can reduce your taxable base from getting taxed on 40,000 to getting taxed on 30,000, why would you not do that? Why would you pay taxes on 40 when you can pay taxes on 30? That's
Absolutely.
the power of home business deductions.
Yep.
And they can add up to $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 really, really quickly. And especially now with rent, like I don't even know what our monthly is as far as our write-offs in our house, but I'm betting it's closer to 200 or 250 a month. So again, over the course of a year, you're talking just a couple of $1,000 just in your home office deduction. And then mileage is huge. I'm about to drive back down to Mexico. Lori is in Mexico right now building our team in Mexico, and I'm about ready to drive down there to meet them for a meeting on Saturday and do some more networking before coming home. And that mileage down and back, literally, 1,200, 1,400 miles is all going to be tax deductible at 56 cents a mile. It's very, very powerful. Very powerful stuff. So I think we're about time, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be that. Did you say it's like 1,200 miles round trip or one way?
No. 12 about. I think it's actually closer to 1,400 miles round trip, and it depends on how much driving around we do down there. The last time I was down there, I drove around, met quite a few people while I was down there, and it adds up. Now,
that's $784 just in mileage.
Right, just in mileage, which will more than enough cover the fuel going down there, and more than enough to probably cover a hotel room for a night for us to on the way back or on the way down.
Yeah, I mean that'll cover all of your maintenance and.
Now I could fly down there, but there's just we need to have a car while we're down there. There's all kinds of reasons why. Either or, if I fly down there, all my airfare down and back would be tax deductible as well. So either or, because it's a business trip, it's tax deductible. Now, just before we go, guys, I want to show this to you. The book that I highly recommend that everyone picks up, and we're going to have again in the recording, you'll be able to click on the book, and it'll take you to where you can get this book, and there will be a link in the description below as well. But it's Home Business Tax Savings Made Easy. This is a guy, Ron Mueller. Sorry, Ron. Ron Mueller. It's a great book. It talks a lot about the home business industry and the tax savings that are available in there, and breaks it all down really easily and understandably, so that anybody can understand how to do it. And it walks you through a lot of the tax deductions that we talked about today, Rod. And it just makes it super, super easy. Now, again, you should always check with your tax professional or check with an accountant. But how many times do you hear a tax professional, folks, attorneys, they are all tools, just like your software that you use for keeping track of that stuff. You have to know how to direct them in what you want to do with your business. Don't ever go blindly into a meeting with a tax professional or an attorney, or I don't even like to do it with a mechanic, but if you go into a meeting blind and you don't know what you want to tell them, you don't know what you want to do, this is what's going to happen. The end of the year is going to show up, and you're going to turn in your taxes, and they're going to do all your tax stuff, and then you're going to hear somebody talking about a deduction that you could have taken, and you're going to go to your tax guy, and you're going to go, why didn't you tell me that I could have taken that deduction? And he's going to look at you and go, I can't hold your hand on everything. I can't tell you all the deductions. There's certain things.
Yeah, there's so many of them, and you got to kind of know. He doesn't know what your business is necessarily. He talks to you
Right.
once a year.
Right.
So you got
So
to, you have to kind of be the one that lets them know what exactly you're doing, and he or she will let you know, what's usable and what isn't. So.
yeah, absolutely. It is so true. You need to know your business, and you need to know what's going. Look at the medical field, Rod. This is the one that drives me crazy. I shouldn't be choosing my medicine, but every commercial on TV. Oh, here, use this. Do you have heart palpitations? Are you bleeding out of your eyes? Is your ears hurt? Well, take this stuff, and your eyes won't be itchy anymore. But you're gonna have a headache. You're gonna have thoughts of suicide.
Yeah,
Why am I?
but they always tell you, make sure you mention that to your provider.
Right. And talk to your doctor about this. But your doctor isn't going to recommend that to you. They're actually telling you, here's what we think is wrong. Recommend this stuff to your doctor. It's the same thing with this stuff, folks. You want to learn your craft, learn what you're doing, and be able to direct them to help you make your business even better. Because what will happen is that in the case of an audit, in the case that something goes wrong or the IRS is going to audit you, now you have a professional on your side who said that it was okay to do those deductions or okay to do this or okay to do that, and they will stand by your side in an audit, and they'll actually go to the audit so that you don't have to be there because you might say something stupid, and that's never a good thing. Cool. Anything else to add, Rod, before we wrap it up?
No, I think we did a pretty good job covering everything tonight. Like I said, if there's if you guys got any questions whatsoever, hit us up on Facebook. TheEveningBuzz.com will get you right to our Facebook page. Throw some comments in there if you got further questions. You got any certain topics that you want us to cover? Throw them in there, and we'll get those on our agenda and talk about all those things. So.
Right. Any last minute? Anybody in the chat there that you can see that has any questions prior to leaving?
Nope.
I believe nobody has questions.
Yeah, I didn't see any tonight. Nope.
Wow, that's because they're all stunned and they're going, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, so they're all scrambling now because it's just in time for starting to think about the taxes for last year, and it's like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to scramble and figure out how to backtrack all this stuff that I haven't been utilizing for last year.
Right. Yeah. Some people are going, why did you do this in December? Sorry, guys, but this is to help you get ready for the entire year so that you can take advantage of every single tax deduction from here all the way through to the end of 2014, and it'll help your 2014 be a lot better.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, if that's nothing else to go, guys, no other questions, no nothing. All I can say is that I'm Paul Sharon, and I'm done for the day.
All right. Sounds good. And I'm Rod Davison signing off, and appreciate everybody watching us. And like I said, any questions, hit up our Facebook, TheEveningBuzz.com. We'll get you right to our Facebook page. And we are signing off.
Have a great night, guys.